Good afternoon, everyone. This is Christian with PerfectStockAlert.com, a 100% free service for smart investors and traders. All we ask in return, please refer a friend. Today is Friday, December the 7th, 2012, and as we do every Friday night, we're going to be going over all the 19 major markets that we track at PerfectStockAlert.com for you, so that you know everything that I know moving into the week ahead. And what I know right now is a little bit different than what I knew last week. You'll notice that on this rally here, across the board, we started looking for short opportunities. We had a lot of shooting star opportunities, things like that were telling us to sell, but our stops were immediately triggered within a week, and we were stopped out and we're starting to move higher. That tells us a few things. Number one, it tells us that we're probably wrong and that the overall downtrend is done for now, and we're now breaking out into a new uptrend. That's why you're seeing the price activity behave the way it is. The bulls are stronger than bears here, and they're running them over, basically just blowing right through the line. So stop thinking like a bear and start thinking like a bull. I know it's a pain in the neck. You might have been spending all this time researching a bearish perspective or whatever. Don't do that. Just go with the trade, whichever way is working. You'll notice over here we were bullish for a while, and that was making money until it stopped and we started getting short. That was working for a while until it stopped, and now we're going to start looking for a long position. In this particular market, average looking at Australia's market, AORD, I'm not taking a long here because it's just too overextended without a good quality pullback. Someone else will argue that a different way. They'll say that this right here is a nice little flag pattern maybe, or a pennant. That's fine. You can do that. And that person can make money trading that way. They can keep advancing their stop every single day as we keep moving higher. They will eventually be stopped out. This is just one chart that I'm not going to do that on. However, I will point out, let me get out the tool right quick. This high point here and this higher high here as well as here, these are indicating that you have an uptrend developing here. So the very next pullback that I get, I don't care if it happens here, I don't care if it happens up here, and then we pull back, I will use that as a buy opportunity because you will have at that point higher series of lows, higher series of highs. The trend is up. You need to be biased. Looking at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, another perfect scenario where the sell strategy was working as long as it was, and then we got a little bounce that we were just trading as a bounce in an overall downtrend. So we'll try to go short here again, and yet that doesn't happen. We got stopped out. Okay, this is something to think about. Number one, if you're being stopped out in the Dow Jones Industrial Average, even though you have it on the S&P and the NASDAQ, but you are on all other global markets, then you can probably expect this to be stopped out on the S&P and the NASDAQ as well. So just close those short positions and wait for better opportunities to develop. Right here, I'm not going to be buying this. What we were betting on was this bounce here to be short-lived. We're going to roll over. We got waiting for the shooting star signal. We got that. We expected us to roll over and come down here and test that, and then maybe do something like that. Apparently that was too easy. Instead, what we're going to do is come up here, consolidate, and then break out again for that second leg of the rally. This is the first one. Look for a second one to be equal to the size of the first. So you've got more upside here. And that would put you in line with what you're going to see on the other global markets, taking out this previous high. And then again, the very next pullback would, of course, be a buy opportunity because you'd be in an uptrend at that point. The French CAC 40 index, same basic story. I wouldn't touch this one with a long 10-foot pole if it were on the long side. The main thing here is that you have this massive move here. Then we don't really get a good pullback. You get some consolidation and an exhaustion gap, the upside here. Shooting star, shooting star. We tried to go short in this scenario. We got stopped out. So what we're going to do is just let it play out by itself. Don't try to short it just because you think it's overextended. The next pullback you get will be a buying opportunity. You will have a series of higher highs and higher lows. Looking now at the Milan Index, the MIB, you can see that we again tried to go short here, tried it again here, and then in both cases we weren't given an opportunity to confirm that. We didn't get a lower low, and then we finally got one now, but it was after we'd already taken out this previous high and all so we wouldn't have even messed with it. But the main thing to point out here is that you can get this happening on many charts. Even though we've been stopped out of a lot of our short positions, the market stopped you out on the short position. This is when we were stopped out, but in the other ones you would have been stopped out, and you can still see a pullback. But again, don't be stuck on your bearish viewpoint. In this particular case, you've got this high point here, higher high here, this low point here. Any pullback that stays above this line right here is just going to be a bullish scenario. So I'm looking to time that entry opportunity and expecting that sometime early next week where you get some kind of a hammer candlestick formation. You've got a little bit of it developing here. You get a little wick from the bottom here, but you want something that looks more like this, a little bit stronger, maybe like this. And again, at the 50-period moving average is where you're going to find the best opportunities to go long at or below that in an uptrend. And because you know this is going to develop into an uptrend, then you should be looking for that buy opportunity anyway. It should be noted, I keep mentioning when this happens, I would go long. Don't worry about guessing when that's happening. I will mark the charts when I see it develop as a good quality long play. For those of you who do not know, my phone likes to ring when I make these videos, naturally. What I meant to say was, for those of you who do not know, you can actually check the free website at perfectstockalert.com. We update these charts every single night. Signal whenever we see an opportunity on the short side and the long side. We'd show you where the stop's going to be and how we advance that stop. We update these every single night, so you can check them out there. The German DAX composite, same basic overall story we're seeing over there in Europe. You had the shooting star signal here, was not confirmed. Another one followed here, was confirmed. Set a stop. We were stopped out 2 days later, and now we're starting to see kind of like a rolling over here, hanging man. That's fine. Let it stop you out. What's basically going to happen is you've got this massive advance here with a nice exhaustion gap here. Eventually, you're going to get a pullback like you saw on the Milan index. When that happens, look for that pullback as a buying opportunity. Look for the right setups and get long, and look for a test at the previous high. Quick glance here at the gold chart. It's been holding its own for a while, so I wanted to bring this to your attention. You notice this low point here and this higher low point here. That's really important. If that doesn't break down, you only have one place to go, and that's up. So this looks like a long trade to me, assuming that we take out this high. If we take out the 1706.9 even by 1 penny intraday, then that's a buy with a stop set off of this low, looking for a test of this high. The Hong Kong Hang Seng Index, we have not been doing very well with this for the past 3 months. Nothing we've been able to take advantage of. You had a situation where you could have looked at this in different ways, but everything I've seen here has just been a mixed bag. I couldn't really tell you which was going to do one way or the other, so I've just left it alone. And right now, I'm going to keep doing that. I just don't really see anything that's... there's just better trades out there for me. The India Bombay Stock Exchange, or the BSE, basic same overall story, massive move to the upside. We tried to get short here. Following day gapped above that point, so we couldn't have taken that as a short opportunity because it would have killed the overall trade anyway the moment it did that. And now we're starting to roll over. You can see that we have this hanging man candlestick formation following day. Is this a kind of a dark cloud cover scenario? Well, we could easily roll over here. I'm not going to try to short it. I'm just going to say that whenever she does pull back, look for a good quality buy opportunity, because at that point you've got this high point here, higher high here, this low point here, and a higher low would give you an uptrend, at which point you'd be a buyer. Right now we haven't seen an uptrend. Even though we're taking out high points, we also took out low points, so we're just in the sideways pattern. It's getting very volatile, and that's something we like as traders, but wait for it to set up so you can get long. Another thing here, I don't want to be a buyer in this scenario. A lot of these charts are just overextended. I don't want to chase that. Right here you can see we're closing higher, and yet the ultimate oscillator is closing lower. It's showing that the momentum to the upside is decreasing. That creates a bearish divergence scenario. If you don't know what that is, you can go to the free website at perfectstockalert.com. There's tons of videos there to teach you everything you need to know. Anything you don't understand, you can learn there. So the main thing here is that this rally is unsustainable. It's going to pull back. Let that happen and take the buy opportunity. Quick glance here at the EWJ, or the Japan iShares. This one, I think you could make a little bit of money to the upside, and I mean little, but it's something you could trade here. You've got some room to go before you get to the overbought condition again, and so be looking for a test of this upper Bollinger Band line, basically a tight stop right here up just above the 925 line, and you could be a buyer of that immediately. Basically the same overall thing. We had this massive bounce here. We expected this to just roll over and keep going lower. Didn't happen. We just went up here, consolidated, and now we're breaking out to the upside, so that could be a buy. London Financial Times Index, same basic overall story. We made a whole bunch of money on the short side. We tried to do it again. That didn't work out. When we broke to the upside, that stopped us out. We're just going to watch this guy for the next pullback. Again, note the high close here, higher than the previous high close. Now we've got this low point. Any pullback, even if it happens in a couple of days or at the end of the week or whatever, when we get a pullback, that will be a buying opportunity. And remember, every single case, whenever you're looking at an uptrend, the best buy opportunities will be at or below the 50-period moving average. The NASDAQ has been a bit of a tricky little guy here. It's actually been the one that I've really been betting on falling over. But you'll notice after 4 consecutive days to the downside, all we did was pull back down to where we consolidated before. And we're just basically consolidating, which all the other charts are doing the same thing before breaking out, so it doesn't really surprise me at this point. And I've just closed that short position here. You can take a little loss from the entry point to the exit point. Just close it out and look for another opportunity. And I think the opportunity will be bullish. Counting this here as a hammer candlestick formation, this following day gave you a higher high and a higher low. Following day gave you the same thing again. dark cloud cover. However, at the beginning of a takeoff point, those dark cloud covers are often fake signals. The following day just takes off to the upside. So again, seeing the Dow Jones already breaking out, I expect to see the Nasdaq do the same thing. So I could be a buy here. One more thing I want to point out. The U.S. markets have the most room to the upside compared to the rest of the globe. We've already seen massive advances by the rest of the globe, and the U.S. market's actually consolidated for a bit, so that's going to make the U.S. market stronger. However, we also have the fiscal cliff stuff going on, so that's also going to make it really wild. So it's going to be a tough little trade here, but assuming we get the fiscal cliff solved, we're going to break out and try to play a game of catch-up here in the U.S. markets. Also, if you're looking at individual market averages that are already overextended and you think they're going to go a little bit higher for another week or so, and you want to play that but you don't want to get overextended, go find individual companies which make up the overall average and see if you can find some laggards in the group. That would make a lot more sense and give you a lot more gain potential. Quick glance at the oil index, the XOI, same basic overall story, bounce here, consolidate for a while, and now are taking off with a breakout to the upside. I'd be a buyer with that, with the stop set below, actually 2 days ago, candlestick formation, the hammer candlestick, 1 cent below that. Another day to the upside, I'll advance the stop and just keep going, look for a test of this high. Quick glance at the UUP, and you'll notice here in the dollar index bullish fund, you can see that we have advanced the stop on this one, 1 cent below today's low. A little bit of profit there. Not going to expect a lot, being that I'm looking at the markets being more bullish here. I wouldn't expect a lot of upside. I still see the gap fill here is a logical opportunity there, so if we can continue to move that way, I'd take my profits in that gap fill area. The Russell 2000 small cap index, same basic overall story, looking at the advance to the upside as a short opportunity. We got the signal, and then she started to come up here. We expected it to roll over, but instead she consolidated, forming hammer candlestick at the 50 period moving average, and now she's starting to advance. I use that as a buy opportunity with a tight stop set right here. Now you may get shaken out, don't try to fight it to get back in, but I'm just saying overall markets are trending that way. Try to buy those that haven't advanced as far yet. Look for us to take out this high like the other markets have already done. The SPX, the S&P 500 large cap index, the same overall story and the same overall opportunity. I would take a long opportunity here with a tight stop set off of this low point here, and I would actually close this trade. You don't have to be stopped out before you close it, so you can close this one now. I expect it will break down regardless. You've already closed above the 50 period moving average, and this would be the situation. If you're looking at the chart saying, I expect it to turn into a bullish scenario, then you'd be wanting to be buying at or below the 50 period moving average, so that would make sense. Quick look at silver, basic same overall story, same opportunity that I see in gold, I see in silver. You can notice that you had this, scenario was a downtrend, and then that change we had take out the previous high point, and we pull back here. Note this high point, note this higher high, note this low, note this pullback creates a higher low, giving you this scenario with a bullish uptrend. And if you're in a bullish uptrend, where should you look for your buy opportunities? At or below the 50 period moving average. And what are you seeing form right here at that 50 period moving average? You're looking at buy pressure forming these candlesticks. They're telling you reversal to the upside. So look for a test of this high. That was like a perfect buy to me. The Toronto Stock Exchange, the TSX, this one looks like an ugly chart to me, and I didn't mark it as something I buy because I just don't see how I would do so. I don't have a nice hammer candlestick formation. I just don't like it. We're still in the consolidation phase here. All you did was advance here and start to pull back and jump up and pull back. You got higher highs, higher lows. You could trade that if you wanted to. I don't see a hammer. Basically, what I think we're doing here is this number right there, if you will, maybe like that. You'll probably break out next week early and close above the 50 period moving average. At that point, you might take it if you like to trade that way. I like hammers where I don't mess with it. The VIX, or the volatility index, runs the inverse of the S&P 500. So if you saw the S&P 500 is breaking out to the upside, being bullish, you would expect to see the VIX starting to turn bearish on you. Well, that's kind of what we're seeing here. Not as clearly defined as I would have liked to have seen it, but we do have a series of lower highs from this point to this point. The trade should have been off of this. We should have marked the chart here, and then you would have had confirmation today to the downside. I'm not going to chase it at this point. I didn't like it. We didn't get as overbought as I would have liked to have seen, so I'm just not going to mess with it. Downside potential here, I think you can test the 14 level pretty easy. That's where you would find support before. So downside here is about $1 or $1.50, and that would be the end of that trade. If you're in that, that's how I would trade that. Wilshire 4500, this is the EMW, same basic overall story. We had a nice advance here, looking for a short opportunity. We get a sell signal here, we get another one here. We take our stop that was over here and we advance it to this point. I would just close the trade if I were you. This is actually still looking like everything else is going to just break to the upside, and if that's the case, this is the first up leg, this is consolidation or the measured move, and then this is the second up leg. You should test the previous high, and it's a very big move still possible here. The only caveat, of course, to that overall analysis would be the fiscal cliff. I can't tell you what they're going to do and how far they're going to push before we actually get some kind of a deal, so that could mess with the overall analysis, but the overall story will be up. If you've not been to the free website at perfectstockalert.com, it's right here. It's 100% free, and all we ask in return, please refer a friend. That means the world to us, so please do that. Help us help keep this website going. Also, I'll be starting the portfolio section. I already told you guys I was going to be doing that on January 1st of 2013. I will, but I'm also going to probably make a couple trades late this year just because I'm funding it right now, so it's going to be there beckoning me to do something, so I'll probably do something. One other item, we updated the invest section of the website as well. There's some value alerts in there for you guys. Check them out. That's about it. God bless, take care, enjoy your weekend, and be safe, and I'll see you all. Please take a moment to review our disclaimer. The information provided herein is our opinion only. Under no circumstances do any statements here represent a recommendation to buy or sell securities or make any kind of an investment. You are responsible for your own due diligence. To summarize, we do not provide investment advice, nor do we make any claims or promises that any information here will lead to a profit, loss, or any other result. These videos are for educational purposes only.